Good morning and welcome to Moments with Melinda. My name is Melinda Moulton and I am your host. And today I have with me Peter Halby. Hey, Peter, how are you?
Hi, Melinda. I'm good. Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining me. Let me tell my viewers a little bit about you. Peter is the co-founder of Zeno Mountain Farm. He's a guitarist, father, weather enthusiast, trash collector, bus driver, and surfer. Peter and his brother Will, both UVM alumni, received the Fenn School 2017 Distinguished Alumnus Awards. Zeno Mountain Farm's mission is to support lifelong friendships between people of diverse abilities. The camp rejects the binary opposition of able and disabled. Does that sound correct?
Sounds great. Yeah.
I've always had a problem with the word disabled.
hmm
And I was really glad to see this in your website. So thank you for that, because I do not believe that human beings are anything, let alone
Yeah.
disabled. You're just abled in a much more different way.
Yes. I mean, I think we always want to, certainly in our community, look at people for all the wonderful things that they can do. And so often in the disability world, it is, yeah, things you can't do.
So I've been using the word a lot, neurodiversity.
hmm Yeah.
They,
Great.
they just think differently and in many ways so much better. And
Yeah.
and there's a
I,
level
I
of,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's society that has messed this up and has limited people and limited our thinking around individuals, and we certainly want to break that open and show the world kind of this untapped resource that is in the disability world. It's like some of the most talented, creative, beautiful, wonderful, caring, kind, innovative people I know, have disabilities, but like it's like they're not defined by their disabilities, and it's just like it's almost like one little part of their life, but it's like it becomes the whole thing. That's how society looks at them, and it's so wrong.
That's right. They're oftentimes pushed in the shadows. So I want to tell my viewers, as we're speaking with Peter Halby, who's the co-founder of Zeno Mountain Farm, that you can go to their website, which is www.zeno mountainfarm.org, and visit their website. It's playful, it's informative, it's lovely. I had the most fun just exploring your website. So thank you for that, Peter.
Great, great.
So let's start at the beginning, because that's always where I like to begin.
Mhm.
Can you share a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up and what your childhood was like?
Sure. Grew up in a family of three kids. I'm the youngest, outside of Boston in Concord, Massachusetts. Wonderful childhood, but very kind of I didn't do a lot as a child outside of my own little community. And I think the big moment for me was as a teenager. I started working at a camp for people with disabilities, like as a young kid, like 15. Um, and it was a real mind-opening experience where I kind of got real responsibility for the first time. I was caring for somebody at that stage who had cerebral palsy, and I was, truly responsible for somebody else. It got me out of my head, which I think a lot of, at least me when I was that age, I was, it's like whatever was me happening to me, and like this like expanded my horizons. It changed the way I saw individuals that I had all these preconceived notions about, as many of us do about folks with disabilities, and it was a beautiful experience, and I have to reflect back on it a lot because as an adult, some gosh, 30 years, 35 years later, I'm still doing it. I'm living in the disability world. It was all sort of from that early experience, where my mind was changed in a great way. Mhm.
Fascinating. My mother's best friend, Mrs. Post, had a daughter, Susie, who was disabled, and was in a wheelchair and couldn't speak. And 2 days a week, my mother would bring Susie to our house, and help take care of her, and I'd
Mm.
help feed her, and in order to alleviate Mrs. Post's burdens. And she had four other children. She had five kids, and so I get that. I so get that, and I honor you in that. Would you say, who would you say was your greatest inspiration that moved you into the work that you're doing today at Zeno?
I don't know if it's an individual, but it really was this world that I discovered in my with the in the disability world. Like there were so many people, so many lessons, and so many sort of um, different ways of communicating, moving, experiencing everything, both mundane day to day, having a cup of coffee, to trying to go skiing, to do something creative, artistically, or with movie making, or it just every angle of life was altered and made more creative when it was done with folks with disabilities and folks who do all these things differently. So it was just sort of that collective experience of just like keeping on, like it was like everything that we tried. I mean, when I was doing it as a young kid, and then when we started running our own programs, and it was almost like everything we did when we had this lens of understanding and trying to get the best out of people, everything was enhanced. It became better.
Was made greater. It was made greater.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
talk to me a little bit about the Halby brothers.
Yeah, I've got an older brother, Will, who's been on this journey with me, along with my wife and his wife too. But Will and I were, grew up, you know, really, really close, and then we would say we drifted away a little bit in his sort of post-college years, and then we came back together in this love of trying to start this camp. So we found this dream property together. With our partners, and that has brought us close together, and we're deep in it. We meet every day. And
Your family. I mean, it's a family. And you've been in, and you're the younger of the two. And were there only two brothers in the family?
yeah, we have an older sister who's wonderful too. But it's interesting talking to other folks who run businesses with um you know a, with a brother, and there's a lot of people, a lot of folks are like, how the hell can you do that? Like, that seems so impossible. And it has its challenges, but I would say it also has this, like, the reward of that. Well, we complement each other, but we also we have this like trust and understanding, like we're in it, and I can, we can communicate really well. And then and then we have our partners involved too, with it's my wife and his wife. So like there's a real family dynamic. It has complications, sure, but there's lots of beauty, and I think we're able to be really productive, in a really wonderful way.
But
But we work on it, you
you
know.
also were raised with love in your families. So let's move on to the work that you have dedicated most of your life to. And that is Zeno Mountain Farm, which is located in Lincoln, Vermont. And you are the co-founder, along with your wife, Illa, and your brother Will, and his wife Vanessa. Talk to us about what gave you the inspiration and vision to create a most magnificent place for people with and without neurodiversity in other marginalized communities.
We as we had sort of been a lot of us, we were all in the field of disability. So my wife was and still is an OT. Will, my brother, was a special ed teacher. Vanessa was getting into adaptive horseback riding. I had moved on to doing adaptive sports. So we were in this world, but we always were like, someday we should bring all our ideas together and find sort of the dream place, where we could, plant our roots, have a property, a real home, and sort of grow community, out of this home. That was the take on the farm. It was like, and initially we're like, oh, we should have a real proper farm. But of course, running a farm is an incredible task, and it's so much work. And maybe as we keep growing, we will get a proper farm. But it really was about the community aspect of it all. And Vermont, I went to UVM, fell in love with Vermont. And it was, Will and I were both like, that this is the place, like Vermont is the place where we can do this. And we were so fortunate, in 2008, there was property available. I look around now, like it would be almost impossible to find any place right now. But we found this dream place. We're on top of a mountain, in central Vermont, with incredible like views forever, like Adirondacks, Green Mountains, Lake Champlain. It's stunning. So we knew this is a place where people would want to come back to. It's so inspiring to be here, and where we could create, lots of wonderful communities.
So share a bit about the history of Zeno because it started back in 2005.
Yep. Yeah. So we, um, got into the camp idea, prior to finding this home, where we would just say, let's bring a group of our friends together and do something creative or something active or adventurous. And we did all sorts of things. So like we would go to, my brother was living in Los Angeles at the time, and he was like, well, everyone makes movies here, we should get everyone together and make a movie, make an original movie. And it was easy for us because we were in the world of disability. We knew tons of people who would be into that idea, so we just would do it and just get together, and all we would stay in Will's, apartment, and bring in bunk beds and mattresses, and we would all just kind of live together and make a movie. And those movies kind of kept growing, where it was just like we would show it to people, and people, this is so cool, what are you gonna do next year? And be like, well, we'll do something different and better. And we kept snowballing. So the movie theme became exciting. And then we would also do camps down in Florida, where it was because I was in the adaptive sports world. It was like, oh, we should bring folks down to Florida and do some windsurfing and canoeing and all these sports. It was like all these adaptive sports that we've been doing up in the Boston area down there. And so we would do that. We went on road trips. We were part of, a whole movement of starting camps in Mexico and Guatemala, and like really adventurous things that just sort of kept popping up, and we just kept on like going for it. And so we, over the years, we have lots and lots of friends, and we were always like, okay, someday we should find the real home, like, because it was like, always living in hotels or sometimes RVs or whatever. It's like, okay, we need a home. And that's how Vermont kind of grew.
And what year was that you settled in Vermont?
2008. So the four of us, had this, where it was before we all had kids, and we said, let's just spend September, and drive around Vermont and look for something beautiful that could happen, like where we'd have space. And so it was a great, like, even if we fail, it's like, okay, it's a great project, like drive around Vermont on the month of September. Come on. So we rented a place in Goshen, Vermont, and we drove all around, and found this place in Lincoln. And right away, we're like, yes, this is
Wow.
amazing.
So you mentioned in your, in your website, you talked to us about social equity at Zeno and why this is so important. Can you talk a little bit with our viewers about this?
Love to. Yeah. So, well, a big thing for us was that because we were working in the disability world, right? It was always under this premise where, you would have it's the teacher and the student, and the teacher would be the non-disabled person, and the student would be the disabled person. It would be, the staff, the client. Like, it was always this sort of dynamic where people with disabilities were around paid staff, which is, it's part of that world, and we get it. But in our mind, it was like we wanted to bring people together on sort of this even plane, because that way you could have genuine friendships between people with and without disabilities. And there wasn't sort of that natural hierarchy there would be when there's somebody paid in the dynamic. So we kept playing around with the idea, like, how could we do this? Like, if we brought a group together to do something, well, you could either pay everyone the same, or you don't pay anyone, and then you figure out ways that you can bring people together. So that's how we got to that model. And
So what's the
we've had
model? Did you
what's
pay
that?
everybody or does everybody not get?
We don't. It would be amazing to pay everyone, but that would be a huge budget. No, we just say people come, and in a way it acts kind of like a vacation, or people do take time off from work. They use their vacation days. Some people are able to just do it, all sorts of different reasons, and sometimes we'll support folks to be able to come and do it. But in the end, when everyone is at a camp or a retreat that we do, everyone's there for the same reason, and it's to support each other. And the beauty that happens with that is that everyone has a chance to contribute to the group equally, and that's a real important thing, is that everyone has a job at Zeno, and it makes everyone matter to the whole process of everything we do, and all jobs are important, whether it's driving the bus, sweeping the floor, cooking the dinner, helping someone to the bathroom, you know, everything. It's like it's vacuuming, like it's all those all need to get done, and we just figure out how to do it, and everyone's sort of celebrated for what they do. And um, it's like it creates this world where everyone matters, and then so often in the disability world that is not thought about. It's like literally it's thought about as sort of care, versus like contributing. It's
Well,
important.
personal care assistance, right? Care,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
are important.
of
But in
course,
this
of course, of
environment,
course.
volunteers volunteer their time. They don't get paid, and it's an experience. It's a moment in their
Yeah.
lives with great return in investment that doesn't have to do with the greenback dollar. And
True. And
so,
what's so exciting is that it happens that everyone, whether you have a disability or not, kind of is there for the same reason. And you're there for a community and there for each other. And that's like so it's just so wonderful for me to like be in that group. And I think everyone who comes back does that for that reason of like it's just this great feeling, like to be in a real productive, creative, innovative community. It's
so
infectious.
is there a boss who puts out the list of duties and stuff? There must be somebody who coordinates the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that
Yeah,
you?
we
Do
do.
that do you do?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I definitely as like the director look, make sure systems are working and whatnot, but there's a lot of leadership that jumps in. So we call it contributions, that example where like we organize, like everyone gets their name on a paper, a clothespin, and then there's all these jobs on this board, and we just like be like, all right, Steve, you're in charge of, and it's like DJing the dishes, like, or like cleaning the bus, all these things. It's like it was just like everything that needs to happen, right? And
Actually,
they're all
maybe
um
maybe our world should be run this way. I mean, what
it's
a wonderful
fun, I'll tell
concept.
you. It's really fun.
It's such a
Um
great concept. So how do folks volunteer? To my viewers out there who are learning about Zeno and about you, Peter, how do they get involved? How can they get involved?
well, it's always just kind of reach out. It's always like kind of a personal, like Zoom like this is like kind of the first step. And people find us in all sorts of ways, whether they've seen one of our movies or they see us out and about, getting
But for
coffee.
my viewers who maybe have never heard about Zeno Mountain Farm and have never met you, is the best way to reach out is to go to your website?
Yeah,
Which
go to the website. I'll send you some things where you can get to know us more, and then we'll set up a Zoom call. It's usually the process, because it's to come to camp, we all live together. It's a pretty intimate experience, and we sort of want to make sure it's a great match,
it's a
and
good
all.
fit. So to
Yeah,
my viewers out there, or for people who have neurodiverse family members who
yeah,
might be involved, the best way to get involved with Zeno is to go to their website, which is www.zeno mountainfarm.org. And it's a fabulous website, and that's how you can get involved. Because I bet there's a lot of people out there watching this show who may not have heard about Zeno and
totally.
might want to get involved. So that's the best way to do it. Now, can you share with us, Peter, a few stories about folks who have been involved with Zeno over the years? Share a story of a person or a couple people and what their experience was at Zeno or is.
Sure. I mean, I think one of the beauties, for me, is that we invite people back year after year, so it becomes this sort of lifelong connection, friendship. And because I've been in it for, I mean, yeah, 30 years plus, like I've known folks for that long. Um, there's just a rich history. Anybody for that long, like it's just a beautiful thing. Like, I mean, we all have sort of these, I mean, hopefully everyone has lifelong friends. Like that is like a real gift to people. And so I guess I've really enjoyed sort of knowing folks and then like seeing their growth and seeing like maybe where I can say like, hey, I think you can do that, or I've seen you do that before, like you could do this. So I mean, and I, and in the it so often doesn't exist in the disability world, right? A lot of times people have pods of friends, but maintaining that throughout one's journey of life, it's hard. Like people move in and out of group homes, people move in and out of workspaces, people maybe have a great high school thing which ends at 22, but like there's typically not like high school reunions and bringing the groups back together again. And like that's, I think, where Zeno can have its place, where it's like we are this thread that's like going through folks' lives. I mean, individual stories, gosh, I mean, there's this wonderful guy, AJ, who lives down in Georgia, and he's got his dream was to become an actor. And he has cerebral palsy down there, and he's like never had any opportunity to act or do anything other than outside of high school. He reached out to us and was like, I really want to act. I'm an actor, like please, please. And we sort of took a chance and said like, okay, AJ, we'll figure out how to get you up here. And he came to Vermont, and he is this amazing man, and a real actor, like loves the craft, loves like learning about camera angles and lights and just
That's
diving in so deep. And we shot a Western movie with him, and he was the star. And while we were shooting that Western, a documentary film crew made a movie about it, and he sort of became the star of the film, like his journey of being for the first time in a real movie. And that documentary ended up being on HBO, and AJ sort of became famous in this way for being an actor, when like being an actor was always his dream. So that's a good one.
outstanding. What a great story. So, I mean, Zeno provides the opportunities for everyone to develop their talents. And and also Zeno's value is being based on folks feeling needed and wanted.
Hmm.
And you state that that is a human right. And and you provide that at Zeno. That everyone feels that they are needed and they are wanted and they're revered for their talents and not looked upon as being disabled. They are abled.
Yeah, yeah. It's like everyone has to get up and do, and there's shit to do. You know what I mean? Like you got it. And I think that's a human right. I think we have to have that. Otherwise, what,
Yeah, you have to have a sense of purpose, and that
yeah,
doesn't happen oftentimes because you have
no,
because it's care. Okay, we have to care
yes,
for you, and people aren't given the opportunity to show who they are and be who they are. And you do that at Zeno, where everybody has chores, everybody gets up, they have a responsibility, they're needed, they're part of a whole. So
right.
now let's move on to this important part of your work: is how does Zeno Mountain Farm support its operations? And if any of my viewers would like to donate to support your work, how best can they do that? Is that again through
Yeah.
the website?
Through the website, reach out to me. I'd love meeting folks interested in what we're doing. And yeah, we're a nonprofit. We have to raise money to do what we do. We have a beautiful network of friends who support us. Who, I think we have a nice way of sort of sharing our story a lot of times through our art. We put on a big musical production in the summertime. We do a dance marathon, which I would always pitch, which happens in the fall. I tried to get you there, Melinda, but next year we'll get you there.
Next year you'll get
Um,
me there. I'm so sorry that I was able to make it this year.
that's really fun, where all our different
I
communities come
love
back
to dance,
together.
and I want to bring. And I know Rowan loves to dance, so I'm
Okay.
going to bring him with me. Now, films do not often include people with neurodiversity or with disabilities, and you just
Yep.
talked about the fellow who was in the documentary. But your films are by and include your campers, and the films are about pirates, time travelers, and Zac Efron, and people love your films. So, are you working on a film right now? Or are you planning one for the summer?
Yeah, well, our last film was called Best Summer Ever, and that was an original musical. And the most inclusive, well, people have said in the world, it's the most inclusive film, disability inclusive film ever made. We had people on all sides of the camera, in all aspects of it, with disabilities, and that we're really, I mean, and that added to the whole thing, right? It's like it's how we created what we made, and the movie has been really
And
successful.
it's
And
streaming on Hulu.
yeah, it's on Hulu. It premiered at
Best
South
summer
by.
ever. It's
Best
streaming,
summer ever.
best
Um,
summer ever streaming on Hulu. I mean, let's everyone go and watch that film. And
all
people,
filmed in Vermont. Yeah.
all from Vermont. For people to see your films, is it best to see them on your website? Because I know you've got them up on your website.
Yes, they can
Uh,
certainly go there and watch it.
We can watch all your films. A lot of your films, most of your films are on your website.
Yes, you can see that. That's sort of what we were talking about earlier. You can see like our journey where I mean, they were so silly back in the day, where we're like, it's like handheld cameras doing like some cheesy soap opera to, becoming more pro and all
And now
that.
on Hulu, now on Hulu and
Now
national.
on Hulu, I know
I
we've
mean,
come a long
come
way.
on. It's
But
amazing.
I would say that it is this untapped resource. I mean, we know that like it is. I mean, you talked about how disability is not portrayed in the movies, and you know, it's 20% of the 25% of the population, right? And it's less than 1% of disabled characters on the screen. And then certainly when you do see it, it's usually played by somebody who's non-disabled. It's usually done in a real like inspirational way, or like a real like villainous way. Um, there's it's shaped the way the world sees this population, right? And it's such a large population. So it's super, I think, important for us to make these films that just have people being people, not being, disabled. Like it's like literally like it's like the mechanic at the store, or the guy who's got the girlfriend who, whatever. Like it's just people. It's like,
People being
um,
people who happen to be.
yes, because it's all the times it's like, oh, how did you get in the wheelchair? Tell me about that. Like, oh, you must be like, it's like that's what it's all about. When it's just like it's one aspect of somebody's life. It's not the
I
whole
love
thing.
the fact that in the Barbie movie they had a Barbie that was in a wheelchair, and I thought it was
Right.
fabulous. And she was out
Yeah.
dancing. And no, we need so much more of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because the
much.
world's missing out. That's what I
The
say.
world is missing out. That's so true. So you call Zeno Mountain a farm, but it's not a farm, right? You don't, not yet. You're not
Yeah.
farming.
Yeah. We're working on
And on your website, you have a xenogram. What is that?
it. We were trying to, we were trying to play on Instagram and say that this was the place to go see sort of what's going on with Zeno. Was like that was our, so we called it the Xenogram, but
Do
that's it.
do people ever just go up to the camp and just drive up to visit you? Do people ever drop in, or is it by appointment only, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's we'd love to. I mean, we love visitors, but yeah, we should give you a proper tour, and
Right.
it's
So so
hard
people
when somebody shows up, and I mean it's not sort of a like that kind of
not a
open.
drop in. So for my viewers, I suggest again that you go to xenomountainfarm.org, to the website. And if you're interested in getting involved in any form or fashion, reach out to Peter or the folks up there to get involved.
Please.
So you have camps and retreats, and you're not active now. You're only active really in the warmer months. Is that so?
No, we're year round, and what started as just in folks in the disability world has expanded to what we've said is folks with isolation, like any group that is experiencing any sort of form of isolation and needs community, we would welcome and want to work with at Zeno. So for us, it's grown into a chronic illness retreat, a veterans retreat, folks in sobriety, and yeah,
I
that's that.
saw that. I saw that you did a veterans group and people who are
Mhm.
looking for sobriety. So you're expanding more into other areas of
Yeah,
of human need and human character, and so you're a year-round organization.
we are. Yeah, it's almost every month of the year we have something going on, and it's yeah. I mean, Vermont offers wonderful things to do year round. Certainly, that we partnered with the folks over at Vermont Adaptive and do all these ski camps, which are really really fun and dynamic. And then the wintertime also is a nice time to come up and do things more, you know, quieter. Like you can do some art projects, you can do some sort of wellness healing kind of things, and it's a
And
beautiful
again,
place
people
to
can
be.
find out about that by going to your website. You have that on your website?
Yeah, yeah, we do, and it's always like, I mean, if you are somebody in the cancer community or chronic illness community, just reach out to me with that sort of highlight, like, oh, I'm interested in this one, and then it always becomes a conversation. And
So if
um,
people want to book retreats, can they do that as well? Can they book the retreats or you just manage and do the retreats?
yeah, we're running all the things that we do. Yeah.
But it
And well,
really is a
sometimes
good
with partners. So the like the cancer one, we partner with somebody, the chronic illness one, we partner with someone, the veterans we do as well. All the disability focused ones we run just ourselves.
Well, I've come to the end of our show here, Peter, and I want to send out a very enthusiastic bravo to you and your family and all of the friends and campers who have come to Zeno Mountain Farm. And they've found love, support, enthusiasm, creativity, joy, and purpose. The mission of Zeno is one that is so needed for a most gifted and important group of our society who often are left in the shadows. You and Zeno have brought so many into the light and given to them the personal glow of accomplishment and self love. And thank you for being on my show and for being who you are. Peter Halby, I really appreciate this time with you today.
Thank you, Melinda. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Wishing you a happy holiday, and I hope to see you soon, my friend.
Likewise.
Be well.